thing we're talking about here is not looking at the content, we're looking at the actual chain of transmission. And first, we look at it in terms of what type of chain it has. So there's 3 different types of chain that a report can have, any hadith, okay? So it can either have a full chain, where you can actually trace the whole hadith back to a ma'soom. So say, for example, Sheikh Saduq, who's in the 2nd century or 3rd century, quotes a hadith. So Saduq has put his source, which is usually his father, who has quoted his source, who's then quoted another generation and another generation until it reaches the Imam who said it. So there's every generation covered in that chain. Okay, so it has a full chain, and a report like that is called musnad. Basically means it has an isnad, it has a chain. So it's supported or connected by a chain, and that's called musnad. And that's the best type that there is. A report that has a chain, perfect. The second one is that it has a full chain, but it's suspended. So remember we said that when Saduq wrote his book, Man La Yahdurul Faqih, it was designed for the layman as a fiqh, little compendium for the layman. And he purposely didn't put his chains because he thought it would just make it really wordy and long. And he put all his chains in an appendix called a mashyakha at the back of the book or elsewhere. And many scholars did that. Even Tusi did that. Okay, they didn't mention all the chains for all the reports. So what happens is when you go to look at a hadith, you can't see a full chain, right? It'll just mention the name of the narrator. And that's called a mu'allaq report. So mu'allaq means it's suspended. That means a chain does exist, but it's just hanging somewhere. Okay? So it's not readily with the report. Okay? And the last one is where you have a partial chain. So what happens is the name of one or more narrators is either unknown or missing or ambiguous. And obviously that's going to be the weakest because there's a weak link in there. Okay? That's known as mursal. Okay? So mursal is translated as either hurried on or disconnected. It's also known as marfu'. So for example, the hadith will just start with Anis Sadiq. Now you don't know between a Sadiq who was in the 2nd century to the person who quotes it, who's a whole century later, how did they come to have it? Who were their sources? Who were the intermediaries? Right? It doesn't say. So these are called hadith mursal. And unfortunately, we have a lot of hadith mursal in our corpus of a hadith, where it says it's from a ma'soom, but we don't know how. We don't know the path. Okay? So that's when basically you don't have a chain. So that's the categorization based on the type of isnad. Musnad, mu'allaq, or mursal. So I'm going to show you some examples, and this file is on Canvas already. So if you look on Canvas, you'll see this file called various samples of types of khabar al-wahid.